Hello, hello, hello. Jordan Sheridan live. Status Coup. It is Wednesday, May 10th. The year is 2023, right here in the United Corporations of America, or the United Poison States of America, which is the headline of today's broadcast. You know, we, well, let me wait till a couple more people trickle in before I begin today's preamble. I hope everybody's having a good day in these tough times. Please press the like button right under the video. Please share this live stream. The more people that press like, the more people that share, the more people that will see us, which is hopefully the goal for everyone. I have been working most of today on a couple different investigative stories. And what sucks is when you have sources that are helping you on certain investigative stories and then they go missing, which happens sometimes. Not like missing, like they've been offed, but just like shit happens and you can't get in touch with them for a few days. So I was making some progress on one story pertaining to the East Palestine derailment and controlled burn. And then unfortunately, the source went kind of dark on me. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping if that source is watching, please check your texts and return my calls if you would be so kind. But please smash that like button, share this live stream. What I wanted to do today, obviously, there's a lot going on. The mass shootings over the weekend, Trump's, fascist town hall tonight on CNN, who I'm sure will barely lay a glove on him. Obviously, Trump was found liable civilly yesterday for E. Jean Carroll's accusations of that he sexually assaulted her, I think, back in the 90s. I mean, we could go down the list. There's a whole lot going on. But since we do so much on the ground reporting, sometimes we don't really go back after the road trips and go through that on the ground reporting and go through some of the most important moments and parts of the interviews with the people that we spoke with, which you, the Status Coup viewers, and you, the paying members, help us to fund. And in the case of Kalamazoo, we actually are reporting, it seems, I sent an email out earlier about this, our reporting, it seems, is making a difference. Status Coup, baby. Get your shirt for the summer. StatusCoup.com/store. StatusCoup.com/store. But it seems that our reporting finally dragged the state of Michigan and the city of Kalamazoo and kind of shamed them because we got some traction on it on social media. It kind of got some traction, and now they are acting, which we will get to. So I'm very excited about that. And obviously, I went back to Flint recently. I also, Lewis went to Kalamazoo. So I want to go through some of the interviews. Some of you might not have seen everything yet, so it might be your first time seeing some of this. For others, it might be, you might have already seen some of this. But I want to give you my thoughts. I might go on a rant or two, because just watching some of it really fucking pisses me off and makes me angry that we are the wealthiest country on earth, but all we see is literally people being sickened and poisoned by their government and corporate America, which is basically the same thing. That's why I call it the United Corporations of America, and jack shit is being done about it. In fact, I wish it was just jack shit. There are efforts to cover the whole thing up. That's actually what's being done about it. So we're going to go through quite a bit about, I want this to be interactive. So super chats are definitely welcome. I'll read other chats too. Preferably if you can leave a super chat, great. Also, and I'll be pushing this throughout the show. And I think I'm going to have an East Palestine resident on at about 5:30. So it won't just be me. And it's just Colin is off this week, taking a much deserved break. So it's me handling the tech. So bear with me, because me and tech aren't a match made in heaven. But we have a goal for this month. We want to add over 100 new Status Coup members. Right now, we have gained 46 in the first week or so of this month, thanks to people signing up as a result of our on-the-ground reporting. So I think it's very achievable and maybe even far exceed our goal. So if you are one of those folks that are watching but haven't pulled the trigger yet, I hope you'll, after today and going through these clips and seeing how important on-the-ground reporting, that as far as I know, there are no other outlets doing what we're doing. Maybe once in a blue moon, but not going on the ground as consistently as we are. I hope we're not going to be able to raise that meter in real time because I don't have Colin, but everyone that signs up as we're live, I will give you a shout out and update the number. So 54 to go to hit that goal of adding 100 paid members. And a shout out because before we went live, Paul signed up as a new member. So that is number 46. Thank you, Paul, for signing up. And we also got 2 days ago gift memberships through YouTube that helped us add 27 new members in one day, thanks to 2 of you buying gift memberships. So you can purchase gift memberships. I wish I could tell you how to do it. When Colin comes back, he could tell you, but they figured it out. So you could probably figure it out. It's probably the same way that you sign up as a YouTube member with an option to purchase a gift membership for as many people as you want. All right. With that said, we got 100 people watching, so smash that like button, share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. I want to first, and we're going to build up. I want to start in Kalamazoo, and you might have not seen everything we did there, but I just want to play, and again, some of you might have seen these, some of you might have not. I just want to play a little like 7 or 8 minute montage of our reporting there, and then give you some finally, some good news for a change. Let me play it. Super chats are welcome. I'll read them after the video. And for anybody who signs up as a member while we're playing this, I'll give you a shout out on the other side.
The smell is really bad. I can't even describe it. It's just a mix of like rotten something, and it almost like the closer you get, it's a rotten smell, and it kind of goes up your nostrils a little bit. And this is at whatever time it is now, probably 6 o'clock. What is being released from that plant?
There's over 30 different toxic gases and chemicals: sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, methyl mercaptan, all kinds of VOCs that cause cancer. I mean, the list is so long. Toluene, the list is long, and every single one of the toxic gases or toxic chemicals cause a disease like cancer, respiratory disease, kidney disease, you name it.
Daughter to an asthma attack. Then she was 17. Then I found my son unresponsible. He couldn't breathe to an asthma attack. Now, due to that, my son has a trach. He's on 24-hour oxygen, and I have a life support machine at my house.
How old is your son?
My son is 32. And he fight every day to stay alive. And my daughter was 17. And I have asthma really, really bad. And my daughter's twin sister has asthma really, really bad. She stay in the hospital like every 2 days. I have to take her to the emergency room to get a real good asthma treatment.
Now, how close do you live to the plant?
I live right around the corner. Right around the corner.
And I've seen video, we aired it, where you basically could see it from your porch, and you were hacking your lungs out. What was this, like 2 in the morning? Because it's a lot worse at night.
2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, 8 at night, 7 at night, 5 in the evening. It's like after 5 o'clock it gets worse. The steam or the smoke comes out. But after 5, 6 o'clock, they really put it on torpedo, and it just fill up the whole sky. It looked like the clouds done came all the way down out the sky. It'd be so filled up.
I feel like they turn the boilers on and off at certain times when there's not a lot of people that, are working inside the city limits or whatever. Most of the people go home, so they just really don't care about the residents, living over here.
Your daughter, who was so young, Did she have like minor asthma as a younger child, and it progressively got worse with more exposure next to the plant?
Yes, sir, it did. She had it when she was younger, and it got worse and worse and worse. And she had an asthma attack, and she couldn't be saved this time.
What did the doctors say? Did they? Because a lot of times doctors like to kind of play down, or like, well, we can't be sure it was connected to blah blah blah. Did they acknowledge that her asthma was getting worse because of how close you live here?
We didn't know it was because we live close to graphic packaging.
Yeah, we didn't know at that time until I did that.
Yeah. We just kept smelling this awful smell.
But we didn't know
Smell
where it
like
came from.
dead bodies, smell like sewage, bag up, rotten eggs. I mean, like she said, you can't even open up your windows. The stuff is coming through your windows. You study coughing. You study rubbing your eyes. Don't know why your eyes, but you think it's your allergies. But it's this building over here.
You said your eyes burn from this.
Yes. Like right now.
Right now.
My eye won't stop watering because it's burning.
A lot of people are more sensitive than others, too. I mean, that's why I feel like the health study that should have been released has been delayed by Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for 3 years. And they know already that more people are sensitive to asthma and burning eyes and stomach aches and headaches, and they're still doing nothing to bring in help. Like, no one is bringing in help. They're acting like everybody's lives are, like, they can be sacrificed for billion-dollar corporations like Graphic Packaging.
First of all, I don't think they care at all. And I think they are working with the city. They're bringing in revenue for the city. And so, therefore, if you're working with the people that are supposed to be higher up, then, they work together.
And you live just a couple blocks down. Can you talk about how do you smell this near your home? How does it affect your health? People you know?
Yes, we smell it all the time. Been smelling it for years. It has affected my husband's breathing, and he's on. He has asthma and breathing. He has breathing treatments. And my daughter, she had asthma, about 5 years ago when she was in high school. And I kept thinking, I didn't know it at first. I was thinking she kept getting tired and tired and tired. I'm thinking, okay, so what could be wrong? I mean, you're active in school, but when I took her to the doctor, that's what it was. She had asthma, and also at night it gets really, really bad. And and throughout the day you'll see the white smoke coming up. And then after 5, it gets a little gray, and then sometimes it gets really, really gray. And it affects me and my family a lot because in the summer, we can't even open our windows due to the smell at all. My daughter's graduation party was in my backyard, and I was so embarrassed because all I smelled was the pollution. It smelled like dog. It smelled like a sewage. And that's what it smelled like, just like a sewage. And as my company was sitting around, and I noticed the faces, and, people were just leaving. And like I said, we cannot even open our windows. Just like now the weather is nice, I still can't even open my windows due to the smell.
Does it get worse as the temperature gets hotter?
Yes, it intensifies. It does.
Makes the eyes burn worse for some reason. Even our mailman has burning eyes. I remember the mailman Ryan. He was telling me that especially when it rains, like he knows that it's acid rain, like on him while he delivers the mail, and he doesn't even live here.
But the common sense person would say, you guys pay taxes, you guys pay to the city for services like garbage and et cetera, et cetera. Enough people have complained to the city, Kalamazoo, to the state. What is the responses you get from your city? From the state? Are you getting responses?
They just give more tax breaks. They take everyone's taxes and they give them more. They gave them $21 million in tax breaks to increase the pollution. I mean, the state of Michigan gave $100 million for this expansion. For what?
We're going to get to that. But I just want to ask, what has been your experience? I assume you've complained to city officials, state officials?
They have been totally ignored. Totally ignored. They don't want to hear it.
Like they don't respond at all?
Respond, exactly. No, they don't even show up at the meetings.
Even people talk at the meetings. The mayor will sit there and just look at you with this cold look on his face like he doesn't even care. He won't even say, we're going to help. Like he just sits there like, because I think he's like in cahoots with graphic packaging. I feel like so many people are paid off that the corruption is so bad that we're never going to be able to know exactly every single person that was involved in this, because you've had hundreds of air complaints over the years to the city, from Borges Hospital employees, from restaurant employees, from, you know, all these businesses that are surrounding the plant. The school over here, there's an elementary school, Lincoln Elementary School. They can't even go out for recess because of this.
How far is the school from where we are?
Around the corner. It's around the corner from here.
And they can't go out for recess.
No. They can't even go out for recess. There's another school up here where there was like 7-year-olds that made their little air quality group. They're like first graders, because they could smell the gas at school and they thought they were going to die. So they were even trying to do something just as little kids. And like, they should be worried about like learning, not worried about if they're going to die at school.
So that was just some of our reporting. I interviewed 3 other people over 2 days, and some of that we haven't released yet. So we'll be releasing that throughout the rest of this week, the weekend. But strangely enough, after we're talking like 5 to 7 years of resident complaints where the mayor would not respond, city commissioners would not respond, the state health department would basically respond by sending someone to investigate by literally driving around the neighborhood in their car and doing smell tests, and then telling the residents, it doesn't smell so bad to me. I saw those emails because the resident showed me those emails. And by the way, big ups. We got a new member during that video. Welcome. Kat just signed up as a Status Coup member through YouTube. So now we are at 47 new Status Coup members this month. And that would bring us only 53 away. Colin's not with me, so I can't update the chart while I'm live, but 47 new members. We want to get to 100. So thank you, Kat. Number 47. By the way, next week when Colin's back, we're going to be doing our monthly members only call. So signing up as a member, you get great perks, including our Zoom call that we do monthly. So you will get an email from us before the call. We usually do it at 7 o'clock Eastern at night. That's 4 o'clock Pacific. So we'll probably do it, I don't know, later next week. So put it in your calendar, our monthly members call. And those are for members through our website, Patreons, and members through YouTube. So I hope we get more people to sign up, and we might have some news for you that only members are going to know about, that we'll tell you about in our members call next week. So what's amazing about this? This is a poor Black neighborhood. Let's just call it what it is. This is the north side of Kalamazoo. 90% of Black people live in this neighborhood in Kalamazoo. There are poor white people as well in Kalamazoo, but predominantly this is a poor Black neighborhood that this plant is releasing over 30 forms of toxic gas. Somebody asked in the chat, why are you wearing a mask? Because literally the smell is so overwhelming. When we went into the parking lot, right, which was right behind us, the smell of gases went up my nostrils into my throat as I was in the car, not wearing a mask. You could still smell it while outside reporting like a block away from the plant. It travels with the wind throughout the neighborhood. Other videos we did, residents said they cannot have people over their home because the people leave, it smells so bad. They cannot open their windows during the summer. Kids do not go out and play on the playground. As they said in that live stream, kids do not go out during recess. These residents, poor Black people, complain to the mayor, complain to the city commissioners, complain to their congresspeople, complain to the health department, complain to the environmental department, complain to the governor, and nothing happened. I was told at certain meetings they were laughed at by their elected representatives. I don't like to draw direct cause and effect by when, where, and give us the credit for something. But in this case, there is a cause and effect, and Status Coup going on the ground, thanks to you and our paying members. This last toxic tour trip that we just took between Flint, Kalamazoo, and then East Palestine, we were on the road for 2 weeks between Lewis and myself. There's the beautiful graphic. It cost us $7 grand for 2 weeks between myself, Lewis, and Colin, all the travel, paying Lewis, flights, hotels, rent a car, food. We had to get a piece of equipment in East Palestine. All of a sudden, shit starts happening in Kalamazoo after we report there. First, let me show you this. That video I just showed you, we put it on Twitter while I was there. Voila, it got some traction. It's actually closer to 900 retweets and 50,000 views, almost at 50,000 views. Folks started tweeting and tagging at Governor Whitmer. Folks started tweeting and tagging at the mayor of Kalamazoo. Folks started tweeting and tagging at the attorney general. Well, the local media in Kalamazoo has done virtually nothing on this for years. But finally, they were being shamed for allowing a multi-billion-dollar packaging company, let me repeat, a multi-billion-dollar packaging company to just poison poor black people. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I don't care, like, nobody should be poisoned, but to be clear, this is a poor black community that they are allowing this company who is blatantly far exceeding environmental regulations. Apparently, they don't even have a carbon filter. So almost 900 retweets, 50,000 views on Twitter. Public officials were then shamed. Then, thanks to our partnership with Breaking Points, if you don't know, Status Coup is a content partnership with Breaking Points. So for our on-the-ground reporting, a lot of the reports we do get featured on their channel. They have almost they have almost 1 million subscribers. So obviously, getting on their channel gets us to a lot more eyeballs. But the report I did for Breaking Points, which I will show you right here and put it in the super chat. If you did not see it, it was longer. It was about 16 minutes. That's up to 55,000 views. Our report for Breaking Points. Let me show you that. Nope. Ugh, I hate it when Colin's not here. 1 second. So yeah, I'll show you a little bit of this. This was the report for Breaking Points. As you could see, we are at 55,000 views. And there is the smoke. Let me play it for you.
As the day moves into night, around 3 o'clock Eastern, you could see that gray, black plume of smoke coming out, which gets worse and smells worse as the day moves into night, and definitely as night goes into the early morning. Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup News with a special report on the ground in Kalamazoo, Michigan for Breaking Points. I am wearing a mask outside on a rainy day because right behind us is Graphic Packaging International, a multi-billion-dollar packaging company that is literally poisoning the poor black part of Kalamazoo, Michigan. They are releasing over 30 different kinds of toxic gas, which is causing crazy rates of asthma, COPD, cancers in the community. And since 2015, 1,950, let me repeat, 1,950 black infants under the age of 1 have died in Kalamazoo County. The majority of black residents live in this area on the north side near Graphic Packaging Plant. My cameraman and I, both yesterday and today, we reported right next to the plant yesterday and both had headaches and sore throat. And even being half a block away, you could feel it with a headache, dizziness. We have a lot more to tell you. What is being released from that plant?
There's over 30 different toxic gases and chemicals: sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, methyl mercaptan.
Daughter to an asthma attack. Then she was 17. Then I found my son unresponsible He couldn't breathe to an asthma attack. Now, due to that, my son has a trach. He's on 24-hour oxygen, and I have a life support machine at my house.
How old is your son?
My son is 32. She complained about the smell. She had, like I said, almost every day I had to take her to go get asthma treatment at the hospital, to the point it got so bad that the hospital had her come in 2 times a week. They had a shot flown in from California that she had to get inserted into her and stay at the hospital for like 3 hours and make sure she didn't have no kind of reaction from it to be able to come outside. This is graphic packaging. And the smell out here is choking the shit out of me right now. August 5th, this is graphic packaging. This is 1:15 in the morning. Today is Wednesday, August 24th at 3:15 in the morning. This is graphic packaging. It smells like raw eggs, some type of sewage. Look how thick the white smoke is. It's choking me as I'm trying to videotape it. It is September 4th, about 1:40 in the morning. This is graphic packaging. Once again, look at this. I'm at home now. Look at this. Full throttle. This is graphic packaging at 2:50 something in the morning. It's probably 2:57 or 2:58 now. Look at this, y'all. They're killing us. As a young kid, my son was great. Active. You couldn't sit him down. He wouldn't stop moving. And he didn't have asthma when he was young. He didn't get asthma until we moved over here.
When was that?
About 5 years ago. Yeah,
What about your daughter? Was she relatively healthy before you guys moved here?
She had asthma. A little. I mean, she had asthma, but she was active. Just like my son, kept moving. You couldn't sit her down. She played football. She played basketball, baseball, ran track. She did everything she possibly could.
So just a little case of asthma, and which could be helped with inhaler. But it was after you moved here that for her, the asthma got a lot worse, and your son, same thing.
Yes. We done reached out to several people. We have not got a respond back. It's like they don't care how we live. They don't care if we live or die. That's how I feel. We've been begging and begging and begging for them to do something about this factory. And they did something all right. They gave them all them billions of dollars to expand, to make it even worse for us over here.
So that's just some of that video. That's just some of that video. Let me put it in the super chat. If you haven't seen it on Breaking Point's channel, you could watch it over there. That got 55,000 views. So between our tweet of the video and our special video for Breaking Points, we got over 100,000 views on this content, which is frankly a lot more than we get on our own normally. Because as you know, we are very, very suppressed over here. YouTube doesn't exactly love to recommend our on-the-ground, investigative, independent reporting. They'd rather pump through people's feeds all the reactionary, hot take bullshit one could handle on trivial, substanceless trash. Not actual reporting, not investigative reporting, certainly not independent reporting, and certainly not reporting that exposes the United fucking Corporations of America or the United Poisoned States of America. And let me just show you, I'm not smart enough to hang it up, but this is the new United Corporations of America flag. That Status Coup OG Chris Garrett sent to me. So when Colin or somebody comes over, we're going to hang this up behind me. It's a lot bigger than the one up But this is why the people of Kalamazoo, Flint, East Palestine, and name your other city, municipality, and state are being poisoned, whether it's the air, the water, the soil, you name it, because the United States government has been bought by the highest bidder, and that is corporate America. So thank you to Chris Garrett. And by the way, welcome. We got another new Status Coup member while we were showing that. Welcome, Christine, and welcome, Kerry. So 2 new members. That makes 3 new members. 3 new members while we've been live. So now we are at, and again, Colin's drinking tequila and taking a week off. God bless him. So I can't update the graph live, but I can just give you the number. That makes 49 total new members. 49 total new members since May 1st. So we are now 51 members away. Let's do it, baby. 51 new members away. Because if you want Lewis to keep going to East Palestine, if you want me on the ground, we need more funding. And frankly, if we can continue, I might have the money to hire somebody else as well on the reporting end. So please keep signing up. Thank you so far today. Kerry, Christine, Paul, and on the YouTube end, because somebody signed up on YouTube, Kat. So that's 4 new members. So before I bring on our guests from East Palestine, I want to share the good news, because we don't really get a lot of victories. Let's just keep it real. It's still important to cover these stories, but we're not always able to score big victories. So I'm happy to say it seems like the government of Michigan, the government in Kalamazoo suddenly decided, wow, maybe we should pay attention to the fact that we are gassing to death this poor black community after Status Coup and yours truly went there to show it. Because all of a sudden, it was taking the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services 3 goddamn years. Let me repeat, 3 years to do a study on the levels of the gases that they were releasing at graphic packaging. Interesting. I don't know why in the world. I asked a chemist that I know, how long should this have taken? Maybe a month? It took them 3 years to release this study. They kept saying COVID, because apparently the COVID in the air would stop the health department from testing what the fuck gases are being released, at what levels. You got insane levels of asthma in this community. You got insane levels of COPD, insane levels of cancers. You got 17-year-old girls dying of severe asthma. You got 32-year-old men on 24/7 life support. You got grandkids who can't go to their grandma's home because of the smell and they get asthma attacks. So suddenly, after we went there, all of a sudden the State Department the health department miraculously is able to release that health study. What do you know? All of a sudden, when our shit's going viral on Twitter, Breaking Points is covering it, the governor is getting attacked on Twitter, the attorney general is getting attacked on Twitter, the health department's getting attacked on Twitter, the mayor of Kalamazoo is getting attacked. All of a sudden, they release the air pollution data, and what do you know? They find it to be hazardous. So the residents they're not inventing it out of thin air. The data, which I went over the other day, they found the hydrogen sulfide levels to far exceed regulations. Are they going to do anything about it? Are they going to punish the company? No, not unless we demand it, which I will have some homework for you viewers in a little bit. So all of a sudden, after our reporting, they released the study. Then all of a sudden, the health department, who literally was getting back to residents before we went there, telling them, well, we sent somebody down there to investigate and they did a smell test and it seems fine to us. All of a sudden, the health department's holding a meeting with the residents now because of the odors. I'm not exaggerating. For 5 to 7 years, None of these entities did jack shit. They ignored the residents. But now they released the study. They acknowledged they have hazardous chemicals. Now the health department's setting up a meeting. And now all of a sudden, the city of Kalamazoo, this you got to love. The city, who residents tell me, county commissioners were laughing at them at meetings when they complained. All of a sudden, the city is putting out messages that this is their top priority. Graphic packaging emissions are top priority, the city says. After Michigan health officials announced graphic packaging emissions as a public health hazard, the city of Kalamazoo and Kalamazoo County released a joint statement saying the public concerns over the air quality is a top priority. I'm not even going to read it because they're all full of shit. They ignored these people for a simple reason, because they're poor and they're fucking black. That's it. They ignored it because they didn't give a shit. And from what I'm told, most of the government officials don't live in this neighborhood. So what do I care? What do we care if these people are inhaling gas and can't leave their home? We're living pretty in our homes. Here on this one, because I believe it's our reporting that led them to do this. And I'm not naive, folks. And I'm not saying this is going to bring us to the promised land and this is going to get the plant shut down, but it is a major, major first step to go from being ignored to finally the data has been released. The state health department is going to meet with residents. The city is now waking up from their corrupt coma. We got to take some victories. So I have a little homework for you if you'll get a pen or write it in your phone. And we're going to do this for East Palestine and Flint today. But you want to know what? Public officials, sometimes you just got to carpet bomb their phone lines, not their buildings. We're talking about their phones. But sometimes you just got to call them and harass them a little bit until they get so fucking annoyed that they might just do something just to stop being annoyed. So I'm going to give you a couple numbers. We'll put it in the description too. But if you want to write down these numbers, because suddenly now they're all acknowledging there is an issue. So this is Congressman Bill Huizenga, who represents Kalamazoo. Apparently he's a Republican that, quote, can get to yes. That was his big slogan. And I'm proud of myself. I put all these numbers in myself. Okay. So I want you to write down Mr. Bill's numbers or just take a screenshot, whichever you prefer. So that's Congressman Bill Huizenga. Why don't you call Congressman Bill Huizenga and tell him to get his Huizenga out of his asshole and do something for these poor people? Okay? Because he represents Kalamazoo, and from what I'm told, he's blown them off. And if you can't write it all down, I'll put it in the super chat too. I'll put it in the description. But if you want to take screenshots, these are two Democrats who represent in the state, not federal. So state rep, Julie Rogers, there's her number. There's her email. I was told she blew off the residents. You know, now she's going to say it's her top priority, right? But I was told she blew them off. So there's Miss Rogers' number. We also have State Senator Sean McCann, another Democrat. You know, get rid of those Republicans because the Democrats will save you, right? So there's his phone number, his email. And have no fear if you can't write them all down now. I will put it in the super chat. But for you tech-savvy people, you could screenshot if you'd like. Then you have the mayor, who, interestingly enough, doesn't have a phone number listed. That's very strange. I guess the mayor doesn't know how to pick up the phone, so he gives an email. Email this motherfucker. Email him twice. Email him 3 times. Because this is a mayor who has allowed this company. By the way, I didn't even get to the fact, it's in my reporting, that the city, knowing this plant was poisoning this poor community, gave him $20 million in tax breaks to expand the poisoning in 2021. To expand. Can't make it up. Then, the state of Michigan under Governor Gretchen Whitmer approved a $125 million bond deal so that they could expand. This is a multi-billion-dollar international company. They needed tax breaks from the city of Kalamazoo, who suddenly it's their top priority that this plant is gassing these people to death? Give me a break. I'll put them all in the super chat. Last thing I'll show you, and I hope if you're watching and you have $5 a month or $10 a month, this might convince you to support us. But this is Brandy. She's a Kalamazoo resident, and this is what she said about our reporting there.
I honestly think that if you wouldn't have came to Kalamazoo, I'm just going to be straight honest. I really think that if Jordan and Status Coup did not come down to Kalamazoo, this health study would still be delayed. I believe it's because you came down and you reported on the ground and you got sick yourself. And that probably raised a red flag too. Like, he doesn't even live here. Colin doesn't even live here. And they got sick too. Because I sent all of your videos to the health department. I sent all your videos to Eagle and everybody else. And that you continuously kept reporting it, like that you were there for a few days on the ground doing this. I believe that that's why the health consultation was released today, because of you. And so thank you for that. Even though it's not what we wanted, it was something that everyone's been waiting on or using an excuse of why they're not helping, because this health consultation is not released. Now that the health consultation is released, I expect action to be taking place all this week. If not,
and now the next step, you have a meeting. They'll probably bullshit you like they have these other communities, but at least you have a meeting scheduled for next week, is it?
I think it is the 18th, if I could be correct. I don't have it in front of me, but it's the 16th or the 18th of May.
So there's things happening at least, rather than them just, stonewalling. And by the way, aggravated progressive, if I could have whiskey every day on air, I'd do it in a second, but my wife would divorce me because apparently when I drink, I snore and she can't sleep in the same bed with me. So that's the whiskey problem. But I might have whiskey anyway tonight because I'm feeling like it. But you know what? There's not a lot of victories in this line of reporting. We're not going to win any awards because we're not corporate media assholes. But I'm happy that finally something is happening there. And I do believe it's because we went there and we reported and we got traction on it. And by the way, thank you to Breaking Points, because Breaking Points has almost 1 million subscribers. Our content doesn't necessarily go super viral for them, but they care enough, Crystal and Sagar, to elevate this kind of independent on-the-ground reporting. And hopefully one day we'll get to where they are at almost 1 million subscribers. Not holding my breath because YouTube doesn't really like to elevate channels like us, but we'll see. And by the way, welcome new member Kerry. So Kerry, Christine, Paul, and Kat. So 4 new members. So I'm about to bring on a guest from East Palestine. We have a couple clips I want to show from East Palestine from Lewis's latest reporting. I want to start with just this clip. Sorry if you don't have tissues, because you might need some. But this is Chrissy Ferguson. She lives right above Sulphur Run, which is one of the contaminated creeks in East Palestine that was contaminated due to the village of East Palestine being nuked by Norfolk Southern. And she just tested at elevated levels for vinyl chloride, which is the cancer-causing toxin that the CDC is telling doctors not to test residents for. I don't call it a cover-up for no reason. Let's look at this short clip.
Test isn't a perfect test, but with the number of folks in town now who are testing positive for this thioglycolic acid, they're saying that it would be almost impossible to align this to something else, that when this is happening so widespread in this town, that it's definitely going to be attributed to the tanker cars filled with vinyl chloride that were set on fire in this small town. I guess, what is it? What was your reaction to seeing that news when you first got those results?
Well, your life stops in a second. Everything that you have planned and wanted, all I've ever wanted is to be a grandma. And I don't want to rush my daughter to do that, but am I going to be around to be a grandma? Her boyfriend, no, neither one of us sleep in this town. He is here for school. School is supposed to be safe. He doesn't smoke. He's 18, an athlete. He has it in Sharon as well. That's telling me when you're at the school, you're not safe. Somebody needs to start being honest. And they need to really start helping us.
Yeah.
Someone in this country should be able to help our town. You've did more for us than anyone.
And
The doctor informed me that mine was the highest that he had seen to date.
yours is the highest that I've seen as well, and I've seen quite a few as well. Yours was in the like 0.9 or so, and we'll show
9.4.
folks what it is. But yeah.
Of
And
all the things to take first place in, this is something that you don't want to be first.
That's just one. We got a couple other tear jerkers, but I wanted to bring on Ashley McCollum. Are you there? Hold on. Did she just freeze? That would suck. Hold on. Yep. She froze. Let me tell her. Oh, there you are. Ashley, were you able to see that clip?
Yeah.
So on the theme of today, which is the United Poison States, it's now over 3 months. You've had to relocate. So many people have had to relocate. It seems to me that the governor, DeWine, most of the representatives and the railroad company are framing this as once we remove all the soil, mission accomplished, that we could all move on. Tell people, because the mainstream media really, other than like News Nation, which is still covering it, they're not covering this anymore. And they're just, when they do, they just regurgitate what the EPA says, that everything's fine and the air and everything is testing. And somehow the CDC is telling doctors, do not test for vinyl chloride, even though Norfolk Southern detonated 5 cars of vinyl chloride. And what do you know? At least 6 residents that I know of that did get their urine tested have high levels of vinyl chloride, which shows chronic, consistent exposure that's happening still.
It's not there and it dissipated. It shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be coming up. I think I'm so over the blatant. You can't go get tested for this. There's proof it's there. They're still denying it. They're not listening to anything independent. It is just astounding to me. And you start to go through levels of the way you feel about it. At first, you get this uncertainty feeling. You're like, maybe they'll do something right. Then you start to see these little things that don't sound right, don't add up. The schools aren't right. You're getting sick in school. You know, okay, well, I'm going to take my kids out. I'm going to move out of town. And I'm going to wait for them to do their first, this is their phase 1 or whatever I've heard them call it. So they're going to pay for our lodging. They're going to pay for our food. We're still going to get sick. Then we're going to get very stressed out because when they're done, where do we go? We break down, we cry, we get depressed. We kind of pull away from people. Then we try to work with everyone again. Like, this is the most emotions I have ever felt and the most anger I have felt for someone to not acknowledge people, just people in general, and how they feel. They would not leave their family in a house there. They wouldn't do it. And if they did to prove a point, they're all going to be sick. And then they're going to say, well, maybe we shouldn't leave these people there. But it would have to take that, or it has to take multiple people dying. I mean, people have already died. We can't really pinpoint it to that, but it's heart-related things. These people had issues. Now, after this phase of our lodging and everything, they say they want to buy our homes. Or not buy our homes, they'll give us the market value. Well, our market value in East Palestine is relatively low. We can't buy homes in different areas that are the equivalent of what we have. I mean, some of our houses are really nice in that area. It's low in cost, nice neighborhood. Can't really find that. And what if the houses don't sell? We wait until they sell for our little bit of money to be added on to that. So if a house that was 100,000 sold for 25,000, because that's what we'll take, how long is it going to take us for any of us to get that money back after fighting with them?
Would you think that if United States soldiers in Ukraine, for example, or Iraq or Afghanistan, or name your pick, let's say that there was an explosion of some sort, a nuclear plant, I don't know, name your toxic shithole, but it detonated over United States military. Do you think that the Pentagon would be telling doctors abroad not to test the soldiers for anything and not to test them for the chemicals that might have just been released? I mean, it is the United States government, so maybe they would, but it's just astounding to me. Why would the US CDC, which when it comes to COVID, they were certainly updating their regulations nonstop, but why would they, A, not have tested everyone right away for vinyl chloride exposure, which I'm sorry to say, if you have a lot of exposure to vinyl chloride, it's a very good chance you're going to get some form of cancer. If you're a woman who's pregnant, that's not good. Why would they not have tested in the first place? And why are they telling people not to test now? I have to ask you, because I shit you not, I have reached out to the CDC 4 times already, and they will not get back to me. At least the EPA has the courtesy to respond to my emails. They're lying to me, but at least they're responding. The CDC will not respond. I'm not like a blogger. They know who I am, but they won't respond. Do you have thoughts on why they would not want residents tested for a dangerous, toxic chemical that was detonated into the air? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. The thing with
There you
that is CDC does have records. Any government where they're basing this information off of, it may not be studies with humans per se, maybe an idea of exposure. Okay, so that's just like an idea, a small, like they could even be using what's going on with us to document it so this mistake doesn't happen again, but they're not. They're not actually taking the time day by day. Here's what's happening. They're not. But everything else they have, there has been studies with rats. There have been studies with different animals. If you look up the actual original research for this, it's all done by animals. And the rate of them getting cancer, sick, and dying is just phenomenal. Like how quickly these animals were dying and getting cancer. And it's all there. You type it in, and the CDC used to have that kind of stuff accessible. If not, there's a PDF out there. If you do enough research looking for it, they have the people that actually did the tests, when it was performed, when it was documented. But it's just wild that it's really, it should be being done now.
And obviously you're talking to people, have people's, yes, people that leave East Palestine, their symptoms get a little better, but more or less, I mean, you're in Facebook groups, you're in groups of people. Talk to me about the symptoms people are still experiencing there, because it's not like this was just like a 2-week thing and now everyone's better. There are ongoing health problems throughout the city.
Yeah, a lot of memory issues that I'm having, and I'm not even there. I still faintly smell it at night here, depending on which way the wind's blowing. We really have a good feeling that it's being burned down the road from us and blowing up this way at a different facility. But we have forgetfulness, a lot of the same symptoms. We have a list of over like 30 issues really going on. The main noticeable one is skin irritation, the chloracne, rashing. There's a lot of that. People will leave there and come back to this hotel and have it on them, and it goes away. So it's definitely from there. I mean, this is a little bit graphic, but women's cycles are off, completely off, to the point where people are thinking that they've conceived, and they're not. And every person I've talked to has had something similar, and severe cramping. Things that don't normally happen to them out of all the years they've had this going on with them in their 30s, 40s. and now they're having issues with it.
So your cycle, which typically is in a specific date range, is delayed,
Mhm.
is what you're saying?
Yeah, and it could be a week, 2 weeks, or you have severe cramping you never had. So, I mean, a couple people here and there, but it is a majority of the women I've talked to.
Wow.
I mean, some don't want to talk about, but once I say something, it's like, oh, wow, yeah, you're right. I did have that. It got to the point where I thought I was going to have a kid, so it's kind of scary that your body is that affected just by breathing that in. I don't think I'm consuming anything with that. I hope not. I mean, there's a pool here, but you never know.
And I've spoken with a couple people who are still having some real, speaking of graphic, diarrhea and gastro stuff that they've never had before. I don't know how common that is, but I've spoken with a few people who are having the shits.
Yeah. And not the normal color either. And yellow is a sign of, you're having liver issues. So I don't know if anyone from town is watching this. It is good to monitor that in case, because these chemicals do cause liver issues and cancers.
And do residents have a direct line to the CDC, the EPA, the Health and Human Services Department?
And it would have been nice if the CDC, we have one phone number, I think, that's been mailed out, but it would have been nice if the CDC could have just sent us a letter in the mail to all residents in East Palestine that these chemicals could, just so we're aware, they could cause all of these things that are going on. Could. So that way, when we go to the doctors or we start on idea, but they don't want us to think it's from the chemical research, and it's going to stay that way.
Right. I want to play this other clip, if you'll bear with me. This is from an interview Lewis did with a young woman. She's 21 years old. Her name's Jordan. And it's pretty unbelievable. And by the way, I've been putting up phone numbers throughout when I'm showing these clips. So I'll keep putting them up if you want to write it down or just screenshot it. You got Governor DeWine's number, Congressman's number, the senator's numbers. Just fucking harass their offices to the point that they just at least do something because they're annoyed. That's really going to...
Best thing to do when you have a bad day.
Here we go.
Train derailed, and I've been getting sick ever since.
So let's go back to kind of, night of the derailment. How did you find out about it?
I was actually working at the nursing home, and I got off, and I was just relaxing, and I heard a loud noise and let all my dogs inside, and then all of a sudden there was this horrible smell outside, and I called the police department, and they told me to evacuate, and I had breathed in chemicals, and I had a raw rash all over my lips that took about 3 weeks to get rid of. I luckily got rid of it before my birthday, so that was stressful. And then just recently, like when it rains, my basement floods with chemicals, and my nose starts gushing blood. I choke on it. It's terrible.
Wow. So I guess first off, so your home is fairly close to Sulphur Run from what we were talking about, right?
Sulphur Run actually runs right in my backyard. Okay. And every day there's people coming down through my backyard dragging toxic chemicals up, and I mean, they won't even, it is what it is, but it's stressful.
Absolutely. And you're saying you can actually see some of the chemicals kind of coming up like through the basement almost when it floods or something?
Yeah,
like
there's like suds, and there was suds in the creek that I looked at, and then there's like this rainbow color in my basement, like in the water, and I've been having to go down there myself with the sub pump and empty the water out. And Norfolk Southern told me that they're not going to be helping me relocate. They can do $250 a week to feed me, and that's not enough for me to even leave my home and stay somewhere else.
Right. And again, I mean, we've run into this with dozens of people at this point that, the Norfolk Southern Assistance Center, the rules will change. 1 week it'll be this, 1 week it'll be that, or not even that consistent. It'll be more so like depending on who you talk to.
I know. And my house hasn't even been tested. It's not in priority for Norfolk Southern, but I'm getting sick every single day, whether it be a cough, a bloody nose, just fatigued. I mean, it's terrible.
And still to this point, it's still affecting you in that way.
Yes, and it's just been getting like progressively worse for me. Like my cough, my allergies, my nosebleeds. Like at first it was like one nosebleed here and there, and now it's constant. Like I have to worry about what I'm wearing because I'm scared I'm gonna get blood on my shirt.
Yeah, that's outrageous. Obviously, you shouldn't need to be dealing with that. So you've tried to relocate essentially with Norfolk Southern. They've offered you $250 a week. Obviously, you know, most of the hotels in the area that will maybe get you a night and a half. Yeah. It's more like $150 a night or so for any of the area hotels. I mean, I'm curious, have you tried to go back to ask for that sort of, for help in that way, or is it they've just made it difficult?
That, because I was staying at my family's house, and she literally has been letting me stay, and they were helping me with relocation and everything I needed, and then all of a sudden they changed their mind and said that I needed a notarized paper stating that I'm staying there for them to help me.
Gotcha.
And,
Okay.
I mean, that's fine. I would have done that, but that's just, why should I need to prove myself for you to help me for making me sick?
Right. No, absolutely. And there's going to be a lot of people in a situation where their name might not be on the lease.
And I'm only 21 years old. I mean, I have a family history of cancer, heart disease, you name it. So I'm scared myself. I have immune problems, I mean, and they just don't care.
So we got the CDC won't test people, and somehow Jordan, whose backyard is basically this contaminated creek, isn't on the priority list for the railroad company. What do you got to do to get on the priority list? Like your home be on top of the rail? This really seems to me like we're just not going to look where we know it's a major fucking problem, and to hell with the people. And $250 a week for some food. I know you've had your dealings with Norfolk Southern and CEO Alan Shaw. Your thoughts on Jordan and other people's dealings with Norfolk Southern. And she's saying when she goes to her basement, her nose is bleeding, that they haven't tested her home.
And that's something common I've heard with a lot of people going into their basements. There was even a man when we were going door to door. He said he would get dizzy, like he was going to pass out. It was so overwhelming that he couldn't be in his basement for too long. So he would have to stay upstairs. I mean, you can't live like that. No one can live like that. If it's a problem, you cannot be in that house. Like, there is no reason they should be doing what they're doing or delaying testing like that. I mean, they came to my house after a week when I told them to be there. Not close enough to water. Maybe a block and a half. I'm on the corner, so I could see it right there. But they came to my house a week after calling, and I turned them down because they wouldn't alter the paperwork. But how is it that I can get someone to come there that quick, and some people said, we haven't even got a call back, and it's been 2 weeks? That's not right. I mean, everyone should have been done on that road first. Everyone by water first. I mean, the CEO, he went to Harvard. Yes.
It's just unbelievable. It really makes you think that if you are unlucky enough to have a company recklessly hurt your community, whether it be an environmental explosion or something else, unless you guys got money and the politicians know you, you're fucked. And you've lost the class lottery here, because mostly white people, but mostly lower middle class, working class, poor. Some pockets are nice, but mostly you guys don't have the spending power. And what's unbelievable to me, FEMA is not in there full force. The EPA honestly should be in there more. And clearly the residents are having health symptoms from the things that they're claiming they're not getting on testing. And the EPA won't even tell me and give me a definitive sentence. Do you believe that the only chemicals that Norfolk Southern blew up was vinyl chloride? Because that's one of the things I've asked them, because based on discrepancies in the manifest that was released, I have reason to believe that they vented and burned more than vinyl chloride. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Let me actually play this clip from Aaron Bragg. He's an industrial gases expert that Lewis has been talking to, because he comments also on the fact that they're, for some reason, I think we know the reason, not testing for vinyl chloride.
To bring you up to speed on some other testing that's being done, benzene as well. So I know anecdotally of 2 residents recently that had benzene in their blood. And these residents, I was told the sulfur run, the highly contaminated creek runs under their homes. So folks, we are getting exposed on a daily basis. And again, it's not up to us to prove to the EPA and the powers that be that there's things wrong. It's up to them to prove to us that it's not. Now, they... based on these clusters, which we have now, so I believe it's up to 23, 24 folks that have these metabolites for vinyl chloride. Whether they are poo-pooing this or not, why isn't the CDC involved?
Right.
The EPA is the incident commander. The incident commander should now bring in the CDC and prove us wrong.
Right.
Okay, whether you take those 25, 26 residents that have come up positive for these metabolites, let's now look at where these residents are. To me, this only makes sense. Okay, you got 26 residents. Let's start testing their neighbors and see if their neighbors are coming up with it. And then if they are or they're not, then we can disprove whether it's happening or not. And frankly, for them at this point to not bring in the CDC, they don't care.
Yeah.
The EPA does not care. That's the only thing that we can say, because it's a very dangerous thing that residents have these metabolites in their blood, and we now know.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And by the way, Ashley, let's get political for a second, or I'll get political. I remember under Trump, when he was president, oh my God, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, they were fucking losing their mind. He named the former CEO of ExxonMobil as the Secretary of State. The head of the EPA was a chemical company lobbyist. They were right to be mad about it. And Trump was basically gutting the EPA, but he ain't president anymore. I think if Trump was president and a railroad company detonated over a town like this and nothing was being done, I think the MSNBC resistance crowd would be attacking the president. If Trump didn't go and visit that village, I think they'd be rightly attacking that person. But why is everybody so quiet about this? CNN is holding a town hall tonight with the Donald. That's getting a lot of attention. Okay, I mean, he's technically the front runner, so if they want to hold a town hall, that's fine. I'm sure they're not going to lay a glove on him or challenge him in any way, and he'll probably steamroll right over them. But CNN's not covering this anymore or asking the questions that we're asking. MSNBC's not. Where is the New York Times? Where is the Washington Post? You have a mini Chernobyl here, and it's almost like Operation Sweep It Under the Rug. Not a lot of things surprise me, but I am surprised that they're not even trying to pretend that they're doing something here.
I mean, it's really just a big kiss ass game. That's really all it is. Like, you don't want to make one person mad by doing something. Well, Trump's already made a bunch of people mad throughout the whole thing, political or not. It's just a big game of kiss and ass. And now that I can do something back to you, I'm going to do that. Why won't Governor DeWine do something? He's got too much money tied up with whatever the railroad's doing. EPA, same thing. They didn't want to be sued because they did the wrong thing to begin with, and they continue to do the wrong thing. Like, it's so far into it now that no one can correct it unless they take everyone out, because the more and more we find out, the more and more they did wrong. The more people are getting exposed, the more people are getting vinyl chloride in them. The more animals are being born mutated, born missing limbs now. Dead birds on porches. Like, I don't see dead birds that often. And I've lived in East Palestine for 8 years. I may see like a baby bird or something, but I had a dead bird on my porch, and that's not the only one that's been found all around town. So, I mean, something is wrong, and they're going to keep on playing kiss ass until they can figure out what to do. Well, maybe we'll give them a little bit money here. Maybe they're not going to stir up too much stuff. Maybe they're not going to go on Status Coup again and really put up a stink, because that's the only place covering it. So once we keep saying this stuff, then maybe they'll turn and give us a little bit more. So if we don't hit that note, they're not going to do nothing. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what political party. Like they said in the beginning, it's bipartisan. It doesn't care who doesn't care at this point. They know what's going on. We get bottled water.
My last question for you. It also seems, listen, I mean, it's a small town, less than 5,000 people. The mayor's part-time. He's clearly in over his head and doesn't know what to do. Obviously, there's been focus on getting back to normal. I'm still can't believe they did an Easter egg hunt in the park that's right next to this contaminated creek. But now they're pushing this big fair, street fair that Norfolk Southern is paying for, and everything's free, folks, because Norfolk Southern's there to do the right thing. So this is the poster, 4 big days of rides and games and food. Listen, it ain't my first rodeo, and Aaron Brockovich has seen this too. And the corporations that poison you come in and try to, we'll pay for a barbecue or a fair, or we'll set up a fund for the first responders and yada, 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 while we won't pay for the residents to relocate, while we won't pay for your homes, while we won't provide you lifetime health care, et cetera, et cetera. But your thoughts on, we've seen Norfolk Southern pay for stuff for first responders and the Easter egg hunt and now the street fair. If this ain't a corporation gaslighting the fuck out of this community with the help of local officials, by the way, who are gladly taking the money, I don't know what is.
It's wild, because I was just talking with a group of people from town, and if this is the way that $1 million is being used to put towards the town, that is beyond uncomprehensible. Like, you're gonna send kids into an area where we're gonna stir up more stuff with these merry-go-rounds, all these things, and the way that they're taking care of the streets and cleaning them. I would not suggest anyone being in town. I mean, people want to leave, and this fair brings people from all around, like Pennsylvania. I mean, people from 30 minutes away come. So they're going to hear free stuff, and they're going to come into town too and be exposed to it more. Like, that shouldn't even be a thing. That should not go on this year.
And by the way, we should be clear. I mean, we're predominantly talking to the people of East Palestine, but Lewis has talked to people in Pennsylvania who are having health problems.
Yeah.
Lewis has talked to people 15 miles down the road to the west of East Palestine who are having health problems. Unless you're a complete fucking moron, that plume did not stop within a 1 mile marker. Mm-hmm. It traveled north, south, east, west. Doesn't seem like the federal government has done a real study on the weather patterns. But there's people who are having it. I mean, in some places in Darlington, PA, are just as close as areas in East Palestine to where that railroad is. So this is a Pennsylvania problem too. I will say the governor there has done a little better than your governor, who 3 months later has not declared a state emergency, which is an emergency in itself. That your governor is either a moron or corrupt. I think he's corrupt. I think he doesn't want to declare an emergency because that would bring in FEMA. That would bring in the full force of federal resources. And I think the governor, either because he's doing the bidding of Norfolk Southern or doing the bidding of someone, wants to sweep this under the rug, just like Norfolk Southern wants to sweep this under the rug. And like you have said, probably at the end of the day, it wouldn't cost Norfolk Southern an astronomical amount of money to pay for people to permanently relocate, to either buy off their mortgages or make some kind of deal with residents like you who you want to move. But I don't think they want to set up that precedent. I don't think they want to set up the precedent.
No, I agree. And you did mention in the beginning of this too, about Trent. Now, the last time we've spoken to him, he came together and had everyone there and asked questions. It went really well. He even said he wanted to do it again. No one has heard anything from this man since
the
then.
mayor. The mayor.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No one's heard anything. And it's wild.
So what are we talking? What are we talking? The mayor was paid off, or the mayor's just gone underground?
I don't know. People have said he got a new truck, but I mean, you can't really put that on there, because if someone's like, oh, someone got something new, they could have been saving for that before this happened. So I can't really say that. I mean, if he gets a brand new big house after he said that the bank wouldn't even give him a refinance on his own mortgage, then we've got an issue there. Something's not right.
Well, I know Lewis reached out to him, and I have reached out to him, and we did not hear back. So, yeah. I mean, the mayor is the least of the problem, because frankly, the mayor doesn't have a lot of power in this situation. This is a small village. He's a part-time mayor. However, he should be responsive to the people in this situation. Yeah. In the beginning, I think he was doing his best, but from what you're saying, he's gone MIA. Yeah, and even he said in one of the smaller meetings they had, they want to kind of delay the fees for the water. And if people aren't there, they'll kind of overlook it. And the mayor said, yeah, we want to do that. Well, when I called to try to get my water shut off, because there's no point in having water in a house I'm not going to be there, I get a surprising $100 bill after they told me I can go get $100 that was donated for this kind of thing. So they basically just then took the money that was donated to me for that last bill by making up a new one and giving me that. So that word wasn't kept up. Now no one knows where he's at. Like, even the backing would be nice. What do you need from people that are watching? Because a lot of our viewers will pick up the phone, will do things. My main objective is to keep this in the news, make sure people know it's still a disaster. It's not something getting better. The plume might be away, but it's still just as bad as it was 3 months ago. That's hard, because we are a short attention span type of society, and we move on when, the next mass shooting and the next disaster, and, but at least among our audience, they care. So what do you want people who don't live there to be doing? I would say share these videos. I mean, find the one that you think points out the best of it. What you think will catch people. But you can snail mail, because sometimes the people you actually send them to, they'll get them compared to their secretary getting an email. So their secretary will look at the email before it's even given to the person. So it really depends how you guys want to do it. Any way will help. Badger them. Calls, letters, emails, share the videos. Let people know we still are in a bad situation. We're terrified to go home. We're terrified to find out in a couple years what happened, because we were allowed to live here, because we are basically chained and forced to. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing okay. Yep. Thanks. So that was Ashley. Obviously, her connection was a little spotty, but I think for the most part, you were able to hear her. I want to show some other clips. And by the way, I'm going to tell you directly, this reporting costs a lot of money. We got 200 people watching right now. Obviously, after we're live, we get more views after the fact. If it is within your means, if you have an extra $5 to $10 a month that you could give to us so that we could continue reporting on these stories, not from the comfortable confines of our studio here, but getting back out there in East Palestine, in Flint, in Kalamazoo, There's a couple other places that I'd like to go as we're heading into the summer. That it's a mix of environmental, worker or exploitation kind of stories, water, all the things we cover. We need you. We need to keep growing our paid membership. Most of our funding does not come from YouTube advertising. It kind of comes and goes. Some months we do really well on YouTube. Some months we do really shitty on YouTube. We don't have any, big financial sugar daddies or mommies. Our funding comes from you. And the more paid members we could get to sign up, the more easily we could go on the road more consistently. I'd like to be on the road at least once or twice every month. If we could go more, even better. We also pay John Farina, who's a freelancer. He's going tonight. Biden is doing a big fundraiser in New York City, and climate activists are going to try and disrupt it. We will have John there covering that. So we'll get footage from John. Obviously, we pay John. We had John cover the writers' strike rally in New York City last week. Obviously, we pay John for his time and video. So please, please, please support us. 16 cents a day. That's how much $5 a month is. 16 cents a day. And the $10 level is 33 cents a day. So if you spend $5 to $10 a month or a week or a day at Starbucks, pivot it to Status Coup. You might spend $5 to $10 a month on some subscription you barely need or don't really use. I think it's worth it to help fund real on the ground reporting. And unless you know of a long list of outlets that do what we do, let me know, because I don't know anyone doing what we do. I want to show you the rest of that interview with Jordan is her name, 21, and it just breaks my heart. This is a little bit of a longer clip, but here we go.
Was living with sulfur run, which is still contaminated to this day, in your backyard, essentially.
What I don't understand is that they've helped other people to relocate and offered to buy out their house, but every time I ask for help, I'm shut down and made to feel like I'm begging almost, and I'm not. I'm getting sick. I need help.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, have you done anything to try about getting any of, we're talking to residents who've been doing the urine tests for vinyl chloride and whatnot. Is that something you've tried to do? I know that it's been difficult.
Went for blood testing, and they said they're going to test for vinyl chloride, and all they did was a metabolic panel, and it didn't really test for anything, and I'm still getting sick. And I got a chest x-ray, and they told me I have no pneumonia, and it's hard to tell if my cough could be related to the train derailment, and it could be anything. Then they said the same thing about the burns on my lips. I mean, you know what I mean? But it's just, I know that if there's a burn on my lip and I touch it and it feels like a stove burn, that it's not my chapped lips, you know what I mean?
Right. And it's not like these sorts of things that you've experienced have happened before this sort of thing. This is new.
Yeah, it's definitely new for me.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's kind of, at this point, the fact that you all are needing to still go ask Norfolk Southern, the people who kind of caused all these issues in the first place, and get their permission, essentially, to relocate.
And they send stuff in the mail saying that they're prioritizing and helping and testing people's property. Well, why isn't mine tested then? Mm-hmm. Why haven't I been a priority to Norfolk Southern?
Right. So you haven't been able to get the residential air tests or house tests done in your home?
They say they're doing it all around the creek, but I want it for my house, not what you guys want to do on your own and keep from me.
Mm-hmm. And the unfortunate reality is even the residential air tests that they have done in people's homes, from experts that I'm talking with, are mostly inadequate.
Right. It's not even like near my house, like it's all the way out on the road of the other side of my house.
Right.
They haven't tested my basement for the rainbow chemicals in my basement. They haven't tested my water, and it's been giving me hives. Every time I want to do dishes or take a shower, I get hives from the time I do it to the time I go to sleep.
Right. So while using the water from the tap?
Yes.
Wow. So, and again, I mean, it's another area where the testing has been so inconsistent. The results have been extremely complicated to understand for everyday folks like you and me and other folks who live here. But even for experts, I mean, there are experts who are coming out. Dr. Welton wrote an open letter to the EPA, head of the EPA, Michael Reagan, essentially saying, this is a disaster the way you all are handling this, and you're giving these people a list of 200 really complicated chemicals with how much of it is present in their their well water without explaining any of the information.
I know. It's just really stressful, and that they're not offering any help. And when I went there, they were angry with me, and they got loud with me and dismissed me, and that's not helping anybody. I get they want to cover it up, but I mean, there's people that are going to die from this. There's animals that have died from this. It's not okay.
Right, and right now, folks are dealing with issues like you've talked about: bloody noses, sore throats, burning eyes, all of these things.
My animals have been having a lot of stomach issues as well. Even though I don't let them drink, they still drink the rainwater when they can get the chance. They're out in my soil. I mean, it worries me what I don't know and what they're not telling me.
Absolutely, and the scary stuff, unfortunately, too, is sort of yet to come. I mean, the real question is, in 5 years, in 10 years, are we going to start to see higher rates of cancers in the area? A lot of the chemicals on board the train are carcinogens. That's a real concern. Vinyl chloride in particular, as well as many of the byproducts of vinyl chloride. So.
And I was trying to get a loan and move, and I tried to get a USDA loan, and they said they're not offering help to people of East Palestine because FEMA's not involved. So that was stressful too, and I'm like, well, I thought FEMA was helping us, you know what I mean?
And I think part of that has to do with, as well, for some reason, the governor of Ohio still has not declared a state of emergency over this. If this wasn't worthy of a state of emergency, I don't know what is.
I know, right?
Yeah, because at that point, it to the best of my understanding, it seems as if additional federal resources would be able to come in and help. They've they extended the window in which the governor could do that. If you're going to extend the window, why not just do it?
And I mean, USDA loans are supposed to be for people in unsafe and unsanitary living, and I don't know what gets more unsafe and unsanitary than this, so little help would be appreciated,
Absolutely agreed. Yeah, and I mean, at this point, what is your take on the kind of response that has happened from state officials, from federal officials, including your senators and folks like this? I mean, people will come and seemingly kind of come for a photo op or something, but I haven't seen any real push forward on legislation. I mean, there was some talk about some potential legislation to prevent something like this happening in the future.
I don't like to get into politics, but they're just covering it all up. They're just going to brush it past like it never happened, just like all the other train derailments. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it. But it's serious, deadly chemicals, so something needs to be done about it. It's not like just any empty car train that derailed. It's serious vinyl chloride, dioxins, cancerous chemicals, and I had chemical burns. It just terrifies me, honestly.
And I mean, it's not even like it's I know you mentioned you don't want to get into politics, and we don't have to. It's bad because it's both sides of the aisle here. I mean, it's not like
no one's offering help. I mean,
exactly. And there was some talk. Senators Vance and Senator Brown have talked about the bipartisan rail legislation about a month and a half ago. That was kind of in the news. People were talking about it.
I even have video recordings of the testing companies telling me that I'm safe, and clearly I'm not safe.
Right, and again, a lot of those same testing companies, the contractors hired by either the EPA or the railroad, the U.S. EPA themselves, Mark Durno, who's an official from the EPA who spoke at a town hall here a couple weeks ago, admitted himself that the devices that they're using for the residential air testing, at least one of the chemicals of concern, wouldn't actually show up on that device until it was 5 times above the action level, because that device is only meant to pick it up at a certain threshold.
Right.
But they can tell you that it's safe, to your point.
Yeah, it's just really not fair to me. I mean, I care about my future of having children. I already might have some infertility issues. I mean, we just don't know, and they're just not helping.
I guess if there's anything else that you think people from outside of East Palestine need to know about what's still going on here, what is your big kind of message, your big takeaway for folks that what do you guys need?
We need help from officials, the mayor. Someone needs to do something. I mean, it's just being brushed under the rug, and I'm getting sick. I've lived here my whole life. I went to school here. I went to nursing school. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I wanted to go back to school in the fall, and now I'm worried about moving instead of going back to school because I have toxic chemicals in my basement.
21 years old. She's got blood gushing out of her nose. She says she's choking on it. Fatigue. Cancer runs in her family. She's worried about fertility issues. Her backyard is this contaminated creek. Somehow her house hasn't been tested and she's not on Norfolk Southern's priority list. Even she said it. She's not into politics. You don't have to be to know when something's being clearly covered up. And we have to fight the urge that, well, it's not our town, so it doesn't affect us. This affects all of us, even if you don't live there, just like Flint and all the rest of them, because these people didn't think it was going to happen to them either before it happened in February. By the way, we just got another new Status Coup member, so now we're cooking. So welcome to Keanu, just signed up. Keanu, Kerry, Christine, Paul, Kate. So that's 5 new members since we've been live. Maybe we can get a couple more while I'm still on here. I just want to play this one other clip. I have some others, but I do have to go help the wife walk the dog and put down my child, who tomorrow, baby Lily, is going to be 6 months old, my daughter. So maybe if my wife will allow, we'll update you with some photos. She just ate food for the first time today. She just ate food for the first time today. So big moment. Proud papa over here. I want to play this clip. As far as I know, I'm the only one, and we're the only one still covering the Flint water crisis. This is just a short part from an interview I did in Flint the week of the 9-year anniversary. I hope as you watch this, you'll see this is why Status Coup exists, and this is why we need you, if you're capable, to join us as a paid member. As a reminder, our monthly members call will be next week. So if you sign up as a member before next week or in early next week, you'll get the email to join our Zoom call. What do you think about that? Because like so many others I've talked to at the beginning of this crisis, people weren't like overly political, but they just maybe thought, hey, this is America, the government will fix it, and had hope because the media had come and the politicians were here and they were saying all the right things. And then you look at 5 years later, you still don't have Medicare for all. The pipes still have not been changed. The water's still contaminated. 7 years later, same thing. 9 years later, same thing. The EPA keeps saying the water testing is fine. I talk to residents when I'm not here, and now when I'm here, they're telling me the water smells like sewer. They're telling me there's black particles coming out of the water. People are still getting rashes. Well, I mean, I trust the residents more than I do the EPA. Mm-hmm. Is the water fine in Flint?
No. You see, I've got 6 rain barrels total. I don't drink the water, cook with it. I don't water my vegetables with it, or with the city water. I started with the rain barrels like 10 years ago because the cost of the water was so high and I couldn't afford to water my garden. So I thought, well, I'll get a rain barrel. Well, I've since added 5 to them. And I filter all my own drinking and cooking water.
And didn't the city give you grief for the rain barrels? They didn't like that you were doing that?
No, they haven't. They don't know, they don't care. Okay. I mean, basically city government's worthless. Yeah. They're right down there with the state and federal government as far as I'm concerned. But when I I'll take a quick shower like 3 times a week, and every time I get out, it's like digging. I'm so dry. But they went and replaced the mains 2 years ago on Court Street. So everybody thinks, oh, your water's fine. Nope. I says the water still has to come from the plant on Dort Highway through all those broken, crappy pipes I says, and then run through here and run into our house. Plus, we've had 18 main breaks since they replaced them.
And I think that's really important because the media only really talked about the service lines that go from the curb into your home, but they were not replacing the mains that run underneath the street, and they have not given anybody money that I know of for interior plumbing.
Nope.
So it's like, does anyone think that the toxic water just skipped over the mains and skipped?
Yeah. But yeah, of course, they don't mention that. And I says that's because they don't have to deal with it.
Right.
The media prints what the government tells them to, or vice versa. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there's no democracy in the United States. The people that own the country are the corporations, and they bought and paid for all the politicians. So nothing's going to get done. We're never going to get justice. Nobody's going to go to frickin' jail. Everybody's going, oh yeah, Nessel, Whitmer, we got Democrats in there. They're going to fix things. What's Witless do? She stops the water pots because Nestle was giving us 1,000 bottles a week free, which comes to maybe, what, a bottle and a half?
How messed up is that, by the way, that Nestle, multi-billion-dollar international corporate conglomerate, is basically stealing water from the Michigan aquifer.
For $200 a year.
For $200 a year, they pay for a permit. $200 a year, they get to basically take millions of gallons from the aquifer. This is the Great Lakes, after all.
Then polluting plastic bottles.
Yeah.
And then sell it to everybody and make profit off of it.
But out of the kindness of their heart, they're donating
100,000 bottles a week. You've got 88,000 people that live in Flint. That comes to maybe, what, a bottle and a half per resident per week. But Whitmer's going, oh no, they're still doing it. Well, they stopped that in January or whatever. So now there's no free water anymore for anybody.
And I think that's really important because the narrative has been the water's now safe. But if the churches are no longer handing out the bottled water, if Nestle is not generously giving a bottle and a half per week, then kids, the elderly, or the immune compromised people, most people don't have the extra money with inflation and everything else to buy stacks and cartons of bottled water. So then people going back to drink from the tap. And as we've talked about, I've spoken with engineers, I've spoken with chemists, Aaron Brockovich, others. I don't think there's any way to 100% say the water is not contaminated here. So that means people are still drinking, almost a decade later, contaminated water. I feel like there's been more money put into PR, marketing, to sweep this under the rug than actual real money put in to just solve the damn problem.
Right. Yeah. If they would have used all that money that first came into Flint, instead of sending it to Governor Snyder to give $55 million to redo the Capitol Theater downtown, who most residents can't afford to go in there anyway, or send $69,000 to the YMCA in Lansing to redo them. What's that got to do with us being poisoned in Flint?
And that's the cover up on top of the cover up on top of the cover up. The state of Michigan under Rick Snyder earmarked, the state legislature in Lansing earmarked, I don't know, I think it was like a $370 million that was supposed to go towards Flint water relief. Reports found that you had millions going to banks, real estate firms, nonprofits, law firms, all the goodies and all the special interests. Supposedly there was columns that said unknown, millions of dollars unknown.
$93 million that they have no accounting for. And then you've got like Bruno Mars and Beyonce and those that donated millions of dollars. Where did that go? Community Foundation, Mott in Flint. Where did that go? Have no clue, because we've never seen a penny of it. But everybody's going, Mott is fine. Mott's right up there with the government. I mean, they own Flint.
We have no democracy in the United States. Vicky Marks. Before you know it, it'll be a decade. That's next year. I am writing a book on the Flint water cover-up. I am talking to a filmmaker about a documentary. This is a filmmaker who has gotten documentaries on CNN and other networks. So I'm hoping he could get it picked up. It would be based predominantly on my reporting, actually. So if there is a God, we'll get the book out, a documentary out in time for the decade anniversary. Feel like I'm a broken record, but I'll stay on it, even if not a lot changes, because these residents need their voices out there, and we need to make sure as many people know as possible. Flint is still a crisis. The water is still toxic. Actually, on my Twitter, I've just gotten into the habit every single day of just updating the day count. I'll show you right now. If you're on Twitter, definitely retweet these tweets that I'm doing every day. But this is just kind of something new I've started doing here on Twitter. So there you see, it's the same tweet pretty much every day. Today is day 3,302 of the Flint water crisis. Flint's water is still toxic. No government official has been convicted or even faced a jury trial. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel has tanked the criminal investigation. Status Coup is the only national media outlet still investigating. I'll put that in the super chat. If you are on Twitter, give it a retweet. Hopefully we can start getting more traction just on these tweets so more people know. And I might start doing this for other stories too, like East Palestine, and just giving the actual day count. It might sound simple, but unfortunately we have normalized in this country way too often things that should not be normal, like cities and communities being poisoned. And I'm trying to unnormalize it and make sure people know every day that it's still a disaster. Before I leave, I want to give another shout out. We got 5 new members. Hopefully we can get some more even when I sign off. So welcome Keanu, Kerry, Christine, Paul, Kat, who signed up as a YouTube member. Thank you for the super chat. Self-taught artist, $9.99. Appreciate Status Coup. I'm going to give one last pitch. Still about 140 people watching. A lot of you are already members. But if you're not, listen, at the end of the day, people could do only what they could do. We're all feeling it, whether it be inflation or just working multiple jobs or whatever the case may be. And, you know, a lot of people just don't have the money. Or you currently have that $5 to $10 a month that we're asking for. You're supporting other channels, which I respect. Or, you know, you got multiple, you know, kids and bills and credit card bills and et cetera, et cetera. So if it's not within your means, that's fine. But I do believe, and the reason I started Status Coup back in the day in 2018, actually, was I truly feel, even in an age of digital suppression and big tech suppression, where clearly our channel is hidden most of the time, we got 143,000 subscribers, going live today to about 200 people. We're not recommended that much on YouTube. And part of the problem is the people that generally are our audience are the most hard pressed and the most struggling. So it's kind of like we're reporting for the working class and trying to be funded by the working class. But at the end of the day, if you got 16 cents a day, that's minimum level. If you got 16 cents a day equals $5 a month. I think one of the best things you could do is fund Status Coup. Not to make Jordan wealthy. This is never going to make me wealthy. I know that, and I'm not trying to get wealthy. Not to get any of us wealthy. But at the end of the day, I'm not the Federal Reserve. I can't print money on a tree. And we need funding to stay on these stories. We need funding to be able to pay people. We need funding for the equipment, because right now we have a $15,000 expense that we haven't paid yet. And that's for a brand new Live View, which is the mobile satellite we use to go live when we're on the road. So you might not think you signing up at $5 a month or $10 a month really makes a big difference. Every single person that signs up makes a huge difference. So if you're on Social Security or one of those things and you just can't do anything, that's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Spread the word if you can't support financially. But if you got that $5 a month or $10 a month, please support us. If you can't do it per month, but you think you could do something just one time, you could donate. That's statuscoup.com/donate. Make a one-time donation if you can, at whatever amount works for you. A lot of people ask for financial support, and basically they're just bloviating in their studio. We're asking for support so we can do something very radical these days. Go outside, get in the trenches, and do real, living, breathing, independent, on-the-ground journalism, which doesn't come cheap. Thank you for watching. Ron and Tina will be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern, and I will be back on Friday. Have a good night.